in healing from loss. With gentle strength, she holds what others fear to name. Moving forward, breaking silence, ending shame. Every word she speaks on the subject of miscarriage is drenched in wisdom and empathy. She teaches us to unlearn,
relearn, unlearn. There's two of you. My goodness, the word gone wrong. There's two of you, Christiana. I can't cope with that. Yes, I know why. You're there. Let me get
special. And
let me get rid of that. The second version, Christiana.
You should get rid of me. That's just not nice.
Not of you, of your rogue self.
I know.
You know, it might be your AI version. You never know, right?
AI never.
Yeah. I saw Auntie Tulu. Thank goodness, Christiana. I saw Auntie Tulu yesterday.
Okay.
Maybe yesterday I think it was, right. She did a comment or shared some more content on our group page.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just have to say, I'm not sure I like the AI Auntie Tulu. What's wrong with people these days?
I know. What's going on?
What's wrong with them?
I don't understand.
You sound that confuses me. Genuinely baffling.
I don't understand. Like
good looking people, good. They look perfectly themselves, and they decide I'm going to use an AI picture. Why?
Well, don't worry. Very soon we're going to be in a world of cloning. If it's anything, if we left to Bill Gates, right? So.
It is very strange, my friends. I don't know whether it taps into our insecure selves. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But wherever you're gonna see me, you're gonna see my picture, the real me. I don't know. There's no AI version of any. I refuse to create one. I could easily create one. And no, I'm not gonna create a thinner, younger looking version of me. I'm just not. I'm gonna be me regardless.
Yes,
and I'm sure I will say to everyone, just be yourself. We love you. We love you for who you are.
But some people don't know what that means. They don't know what to think about it. We're having this conversation recently, and this is not a jab at anybody. I look at people who are, older. I mean, older is in their 60s, 70s, who are getting lip fillers, and I'm thinking, you've lived to the age of 70.
I talk about like people with Botox on their face.
Yes. You've lived a whole 70 years. I mean, let me turn the show into something else. Shall we just crack on with our show? When my natural lips was an issue for those around me.
Yes, right? And now people are getting their bumped up.
Issue. We come with natural lips.
Now they're getting their lips bumped up.
Are great, right? The way that God made us, and we were, what's the word? Ridiculed.
Yeah.
On bullied, spat on for
having all those things, my friend.
All those things that we have, and now people are killing themselves, falling over to be able. People are killing themselves, falling over themselves, to do what? To have all these fillers, But anyway, that's a show for another day.
Yeah.
Welcome, guys.
How you doing, Christy? So glad you're here, Christy. I need you, Christy. Not today.
Join us in the studio,
you're welcome. The link is in the comments page. Comment section of our event page, Christy. If you join us.
Forgive us.
Hold on.
What, me?
Yes, I need Christy to buy my friend's books. 99 cents, Christy, please, on launch day. But you normally do, so I'm just making sure If you don't ask, you don't get, right? So I'm gonna make sure I ask. Now, Dr. Noela's book is the first one that's coming out. We're launching on the 31st of August. So please do join us and do come and buy the book. I've got a meeting later. That's why I stopped you, Christiana. I got a meeting later with someone who wants us to proofread the book.
Yay.
So let me speak to them. Let me see whether it's something that we want to do, something we want to work with, and then I should come to you and see whether it's work that you can fit into your busy schedule, Christiana. Anyway, you carry on talking. Alovine, how are you doing? So glad to see you. Always glad to see you.
Anyone that
I hope life's treating you well too. Yeah, Christine, that's why you're the best, my friend. Like this woman is, truly a friend to many. She really is that friend that we all need.
Hi, right, Alovine, welcome.
Alovine, look, you're welcome to join the studio if you can, if you possibly can.
And Otherwise, they can.
Yeah. No, so Alovine, she often joins us in the studio to share, right?
Where's our bill?
Insights. They're coming. They've only just started, right? They've only just started.
So, as I was saying, if you joined us earlier at the start of the show, our apologies, because it sounds like we're having a different conversation, a different show. No, you're in the right place. You're not in the wrong place. This show is about baby loss, pregnancy loss, miscarriage, whichever conversation or whichever label you choose to refer to yours. So really, I want to say welcome to our show. We thank you for always supporting this show. We thank you for really showing up for us. And for those who take the time to invite others, thank you so much. And if you haven't done so, please do invite your friends, invite those that you know and perhaps are aware or feel that may benefit from this show. We welcome everyone, including employers, because in the past I've had employers who have so many questions to ask. So please do tap in and invite all those that would love to be here and love to contribute to this show. Today's show is one that it's going to be part 2 and part 3. So we're now doing part 1, and it's really how do you tell your story? Is how do you tell your story without fear and without shame, without panic, without feeling stigmatized or opening the door to be stigmatized when it comes to pregnancy loss, baby loss, miscarriage, stillbirth. There's a plethora of names and labels that we use as a society for this trauma. Yes, today we're going to be speaking about how do you and how can you tell your story, and is it negative, positive to tell your story, and who do we tell our stories to? What is the purpose of telling our stories? I'm glad you're here. Please feel free to join us in the studio to share your thoughts, your comments, and any contributions you'd like to make is welcome. We also like controversy on this show too, so feel free to do so. And thank you.
I'm laughing at the plane in your background. Josiah has been. I love that.
So is that though? Josiah wants to be an aeroplane in the moment I'm trying to speak.
He's lovely. He's lovely. Yourself? Okay. Yeah, you meeting yourself. Okay, so you can talk to Josiah. Right. Right.
Sorry. As I was saying, this for me really is a conversation that I encounter. And recently I encountered this question. The question was, what was it that gave me the courage? In fact, somebody called me brave for speaking about something so common, because let's not forget that miscarriage is a common phenomenon. And because we don't speak much about it, because we do not address, the trauma, address any conversations around it properly, people think it should be a dark, hidden secret. So, or they say, oh my God, you're so brave. I believe it's a conversation that should be normalized. Hence, the reason why we have this show is to normalize conversations of this nature to ensure that, we don't, that no one feels left alone or feels in isolation or becomes really afraid to speak up. You know, what happens when we finally really speak up? What's been your experience? If you're watching this show, whether live or on replay, and you have experienced what I'm speaking about, please get in touch with us. Please leave a message. Please leave a comment wherever you find this. What has been your experience when you've told your story, when you have spoken up? What has been your experience? Annie, over to you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Annie, for always being here and supporting this show. Apparently, we'll make a right pair, I've been told.
Yes, we enjoy ourselves, and I agree with you. We have a calling to share what we've learned in life and what might help others, and our
Mhm.
experiences, can sometimes be the next person's answer to the question
Yes.
that they're asking today, right? And it's as tragic as baby loss is. The numbers are stark, like you say. We're talking. I know. I'm trying to stop short of saying most women will have experience or knowledge of someone who has experienced miscarriage.
One in four.
Literally, right, 1 in 4. That's a huge
Mhm.
number, right? And I think 1 in every 4 women that you meet, that you come across, that you work with,
But
and
also, Annie,
your
to
friend.
add to it, 50% of us know or have heard of somebody who's experienced a miscarriage. That's half of us,
Yeah,
right? That is a huge number globally.
yeah. So that's close to my most women know someone or have experienced it themselves of
Yes,
miscarriage, of baby loss. And I agree entirely. We need to talk more about the experience, the reality, strategies, the thinking, and so we need to really support each other to move forward. This
yes,
this really is one of the hidden conversations that we're not having,
exactly. I
and
agree.
it's a shocker. I say, many men don't have a clue that the person they're talking to has had a miscarriage.
Hmm.
I don't know. Is it something that you want to talk about
It
openly?
is.
I
It
tell you that
is.
I would say in a work context for
Hmm.
sure. We are we're at a loss because we don't know. And all it takes is a random comment to upset someone's day
Absolutely.
because we don't know, and because there are no policies in place. There's nothing in place to guide us. You know,
Yes,
I'm that guy who we literally just clam up. I don't know what to say, and I don't know what to say, right? And
exactly.
I almost rather it wasn't spoken about, but I know that's foolish. I'm saying really,
Yes.
because that way I'm going to deal with it.
Because
But
everybody, we can put under the carpet
hmm,
and just put it to one side. Let me put it this way to you. The first thing is, to anyone who's experiencing or has experienced this trauma and is struggling to really tell their story, think of it this way: it is your story to tell. So you get to tell when you want to, where you want to, how you want to, who you want to, if you choose. Okay. But I take on the point that you made, Annie, which leads me to this question I always ask, my clients is, what if telling your story could help someone else find the courage to tell theirs?
hmm,
Okay. What if when you tell your story, and this is exactly the reason why I had to empower myself to tell my story. And when I told my story and then added, actually, I'm now helping people to share their story and to support them in this. Somebody once said to me, where were you, X amount of years ago when I needed this kind of support and help? And out came their experience, because we may all experience, and for those who've experienced and who are going to or have already experienced this, baby loss, miscarriage, whatever language we use, when you experience this, we all experience it in different ways. There are different stories for the same trauma, right? No two miscarriages at 12 weeks, 6 weeks, all these weeks.
You're still muted. You're still muted. Go for it. I can hear you. No.
So it's that, sorry, something of when you think about, the story. So no two losses are the same, because no two stories are the same. Sorry, guys. No two stories are the same, and there is a different story, there's different trauma, and trauma is experienced in such a different way from person to person, whether individually or as a couple. So this is why it's so important that we share our story. Some may even wonder, because when you think about, loss and how people carry that grief in silence, with the fear, again, like I said, this is about telling your story without shame or fear, right? The first three emotions that happens is the shock. Then you have the fear factor. Then you have the shame. So we're experiencing all of these things at the same time. Imagine going through that and having to be gagged to not talk about it. You almost want to blow up on the inside out. Okay. And there are those who will keep, I can speak from a personal experience. I kept this secret. And I say it's secret now because nobody knew about it. Not even my husband knew about my first miscarriage, or the first miscarriage I experienced. It's not mine now to claim anymore, but it's the first miscarriage that I experienced, right? He had no clue until 2 years later. He discovered about the first one on our second one. Does that mean, so I would like you to just hold that thought for a moment and let it sink in to exactly this the degree of torture that you experience internally, and the reason why it's so important, because you will pick up things, you'll be busy, you will go to work, but that thought and the loss you're experiencing is still always at the back of your mind. It wasn't until the second time that I exploded, remembering and thinking, why has this happened again? Why am I going through this? And my husband thinking, what do you mean again? I'm like, oh, by the way, right? Imagine that. And for some, they wonder, will people judge me? Will they think I did something wrong? That was also another thought that I had in my own journey, my own personal experience. Will they blame me? Right? That's when you get, the in-laws that get involved in things that are none of their business. they get involved with good intentions at the wrong time. You have people who they say, will people treat me differently? Which does happen. You are treated so differently. Like Annie, you mentioned earlier, some people don't know what to do, what to say to you, how to deal with you, how to, really comfort you, how to experience you experiencing that loss yourself. What there's other thing, I just put a list of what people have said to me as to why they have not been able to come forward and express themselves. Will my partner want me to talk about it? For those who are not yet ready to have the conversations, again, couples grieve so differently. One might be ready to speak about it, the other may still be processing, right? The next question is, what will my family think? And again, families do think this. Let's look at things like cultural behaviors and thoughts about miscarriage and what that means. For some, they say, oh my goodness, you're cursed. Especially in cases where you've had more than one loss. The other question is, will people think I'm looking for attention? And I've heard in my own ears with clients who said these words to me. They thought I was just attention seeking. Get over it. It's been X amount of months now. Why are we still talking about this topic? Which is, for me, is so insensitive, wholly inappropriate, and a big no-no for me. What if I start talking about this and I cannot stop talking about it? What if telling my story makes everything real, okay, feel real again, and for me to relive those traumas, those thoughts, those feelings that I had? And finally, what if people don't understand? Add to that, not just don't understand or don't believe you. These things are real. These conversations are real. These experiences are real. I've put these questions together because these are the things that I've dealt with, and I'm sure I will still be dealing with in my practice. And sometimes the hardest question is, am I allowed to tell this story? That's the question that's within you. What gives me the right to want to? Who wants to hear this? I'm sure I said this to myself too at the beginning. Why would anybody want to hear about my loss? It makes, I mean, some of them, no one knew that this baby existed. Why would they want to know that I've lost? How can you tell someone that I've lost a child they did not know existed in the first place? And the answer is yes. You are allowed to speak, and speak about your lived experience, and speak about what you're going through. Now, you could keep parts of your story private. If you choose to share everything, entirely up to you. If you choose to hold back some, that's fine too. Nobody can tell you how you share your story. My question to you today is, what is stopping you from telling your story? What is it? Is it judgment? Is it rejection? Is it fear? Is it being misunderstood? Is it being blamed? Is it the fear of you becoming emotional to the point that you cannot stop yourself? Okay, and that's the fear factor. The shame factor is, what did I do wrong? Are you internalizing what your experience is, or you're experiencing, or have already experienced? Why couldn't my body do this? One thing I did say to myself back so many years ago, everyone else seems to have been able to have healthy babies. What's wrong with me? Maybe I shouldn't talk about it at all. That is the shame factor that enters our head, and the silence, because nobody asks the question. Or in the initial stage of your loss, you have everybody running around you, or trying to run around you. But the important times are those times when the phone call stops happening, the doors have closed, people have returned seemingly back to work, and everything is silence. How do we continue in the silence when no one is asking about us, ringing us, speaking with us, checking in with us, laughing with us, crying with us, whatever it takes? That's when it gets really difficult. And so comes the next thing is looking at the cultural aspect of this. Because pregnancy and baby loss maybe surrounded with some beliefs, accusations, and taboos about pregnancy loss or losses. That in itself makes people keep away from you. you know and then family relatives might think, don't talk about it. I was told in my case, don't air your dirty linen outside. That's not my language. I quote exactly what was said to me. Why can't you move on? It's been how many years now? You can have another baby, like it's going to the shop and picking up candy, as Americans would say, or buying sweets in the shop. It doesn't work that way. The next thing is the workplace, because someone may fear being perceived as weak, unreliable, or unable to cope, unable to really deliver and be able to still continue to work in the workplace and to deliver what's expected of them and to keep up with the targets that's been set for them, to meet deadlines and so on and so forth. And so they might choose not to disclose their experience, disclose their loss because of fear of, sounds crazy, of other losses within the work environment. We look at relationship pressure. some partners may grieve differently. And one person, like I said before, may want to talk about it, while the other wants privacy, or they're too stressed, too shocked to speak. Any, I'm going to pause there for the time being and over to you before I move on. But just before you come back, any, we're going to be focusing on women today. Like I said, this is going to be a three-part show. And so the first one today is women. You know, women in our case is my body, my loss, my story. And so that's our focal point for today. Over to you, Annie. Thank you.
You know, as you're talking, I guess, a thought going through my head is this. Can you heal without talking about your experience to someone?
It is almost impossible to do so.
That makes it scary, right?
There is, because let's think about this. It is that your question is a scary thought, you know. So your question presents a scary thought. So let's say you lost somebody, like God forbid you lose somebody, you have a bereavement. Okay. Imagine not saying anything to anyone, including your spouse. Tell me the thoughts that will be going through your mind, the emotions that you were experiencing. Imagine having to lose someone and not say a word about it. What do you think would happen?
Well, I know what's gonna happen. You know, we're gonna be human about this and do what humans do. You know, that means we're gonna have crazy thoughts, negative thoughts, comments, and so
You're breaking up, Annie.
right.
Yes. That's better. They are. So, Annie, I agree with Stanley Green, because on this show, if you remember, I always say this: the human mind has the ability to think 12,000 to 60,000 negative thoughts a day, right? In our subconscious mind, mostly. And so when we have that, we're already predisposed to negativity, to be in our own captivity and to internalize most things. But guess what happens when we do that? Our emotions always features somewhere else through our actions, whether consciously or subconsciously. It comes out for some in a very negative way, right? Because that emotion has not been dealt with, that label has not been stuck on for us to digest what's happening before we can then deal with it. We have to process internally and externally. If you deny yourself the opportunity to process externally, it manifests itself in different ways, whether that be going to work, and like I mentioned before, your productivity declines, or worse than that, you become quite short with the colleagues at work. You become quite, there's so many things that happen, argumentative and passive aggressive, that just a plethora of actions that happens as a result of us internalizing that experience, not giving yourself the opportunity to properly grieve and process your experience. So the answer is no.
Of course, I always love your honesty, and that makes it scary, Christian. That means many people are not healing.
It is
From their experiences, which is Bill, you're too funny. Right, welcome, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Where's Bill on the show? But you're here now, clearly.
Yay.
Christiana, my favorite is days.
Thanks, Bill.
And there is Emmy. Bill,
It's okay.
yeah.
We all love
Like,
you.
I was going to mention Bill's new #1 book that today. And I said Bill now have at least five
Yay.
#1s for his for his 3 books or 2 books, 3 books. One of the lead.
I love how you show up and show off. Love
Yes,
it, Bill.
so you should, so you should. But no, but those sort of comments, Bill. Yes,
Congratulations,
yeah, no,
Bill.
really, it's well done you, well done you. And I said I love the fact that Bill has a network of people who actually like him, who actually know him. Unlike you, my dear Christiana, the one with 1,000
Oh
friends
wow.
who, yeah.
Oh wow. Emmy, you're fired. Just so you know, in the words of Ali Sugar, you, my dear, are fired.
I'm going anyway. It's all right. It's all right. Look,
Good luck. Good luck with your love for showing up to your door ever.
well, I don't know you want. It's not going to come from you, is it? More chance coming from a next door neighbor. She's not Nigerian either.
How do you know?
Hey,
Oh my goodness.
let's not talk about my jollof rice problem.
Let's not.
I'll get upset and
Let's
start
not
crying and everything. I will literally get emotional.
I'm not sure I have your address anyway, so you have to send it to me.
Anyway.
So, women can experience an enormous amount of scrutiny following miscarriage or pregnancy loss. And research shows. I said, don't do anything small. I don't do anything small. Thank God for that.
No, for sure. Look, the fact that so many people are not healing Christiana, what is that doing to our society? What's that doing to our communities? What's that doing to our to people?
Have you seen our society of late?
Yes.
Like I said, if you remember, I said earlier how the opportunity to process this leaves us in darkness and manifests itself in different ways in different spaces. That could be a transferring, those emotions onto others, whether be it our children, be it our family members at work, and so on and so forth. And it's a domino effect, is what I'm trying to say effectively. That's what happens. Okay. And we wonder why, we have the society, we have the result of that. The biggest thing is mental health. This takes its toll on your mental health. It really does. And that is one thing that we don't consider. When I hear people say, you got to move on, when's the next baby? That thought doesn't leave you. And imagine even when you go and receive or try to get counseling or therapy to process and to grieve, you still got to deal with the triggers that come as the years go. Experience, the opportunity of having a child. You really have to think, and you look at the child that's with you and you remember the ones that you didn't have. Because we're always, as parents, there's an identity that we have the minute you become aware that you're going to be a parent, right? And so people are walking around with that identity crisis, will not being able to label it as, an identity crisis that is linked to the lack thereof of the dream that they once had. Imagine having your dreams crushed. What would that do to you? How would that impact you on a daily basis?
I can answer that a bit. I think many people spend their time in this space, in the mental space at least, right? For me, I think my option, my choice was essentially don't talk about the pregnancy at all. Almost don't acknowledge it. First it was until it gets to a certain stage, until it gets to 12 weeks.
Yes.
Then until we're 6 months in, until we get to 9 months in. I didn't want to talk about my wife being pregnant. I didn't want to acknowledge it in case it went wrong.
Yes.
And in case I start speaking about my pain. I think that robs us of the joy of of the pregnancy phase.
Absolutely.
Of life. And that's and that fear can obviously, like you say, can lead to anxiety, can lead to many other things, which are much mental health, mental unwellness. We're going to call it that.
Yes.
And so that I think that's sadly how many people, or not most, many people experience pregnancy.
That is true.
Don't mention it, don't talk about it, but we can't not talk about it.
And that's why it's important that we do things like this, that we talk about it. The one thing, like I said earlier, if you joined us, at the beginning, you'd have heard me say these are the conversations that we do need to normalize, because at the moment that's not what's happening. It's not being normalized. We are seeing this as it still carries an air of stigma, a taboo, because we believe that it's for others, it's for behind closed doors, or we mustn't air our dirty linen outside. And the reality is, let's think about it. 1 in 4 experience miscarriage or baby loss. Half of us, 50%, know that either know somebody who's experienced this loss or themselves have experienced this loss. So why are we not talking about it? It makes absolutely no sense to me. We need to normalize this conversation. And sometimes what happens in this is we're looking at, the questioning and questioning ourselves. And that questioning becomes self-blame. And the self-blame stops us from really expressing and, let somebody else know that we're experiencing this trauma, that we're going through this grief. We need to continue to have conversations like this to help us to better understand. There needs to be more education. I must say that the one organization that's really, really good at doing this is Tommy's. So the baby care company. They're very good at doing this. They've poured, I would say, undisclosed sums of funds to research this particular trauma, in understanding why it does happen, why it continues to happen. And my dream, my wish is I will get to a point one day where we can fully understand why this happens and how it can be prevented. Now, I know I've had medical professionals tell me, well, you can't prevent it. The reality is, let's keep doing our research so that we can learn more about this particular trauma and hopefully find ways in which we can avoid, avoid it, eradicate it completely, or drastically reduce the number of women that experience this trauma. I'm going to pause for a second and just check if anyone has a question so far. Please do. And I'm going to ask you guys to please feel free to join us in the studio. Feel free to share this show to others and invite others to join us so we can really get to hear you guys, hear your thoughts, your opinions, what you're thinking, any questions, So like I said earlier, today's show is focusing part one. This is part one, focusing on the women and for today. And in 2 weeks' time, we're going to focus on the men. So here is what I want us to do. Bit of a homework. I would like to know, and should you join us in the next show, look around you and see if you know anyone that has experienced miscarriage or baby loss or pregnancy loss. And I'd like you to really think about that. Take stock of it. And I'd want to see in the next show, how many people do you know of that have experienced this trauma around yourself, whether in a work environment, your personal life, or through somebody else? How many do you know? Because I bet you will all know at least one person or will know of one person. And for those who are perhaps a certain age, your parents would not have spoken about this. So I know for me growing up, it was such a taboo subject and no one spoke about it. It wasn't until I experienced my own experience, or went through my own journey rather, that I began to realize the amount of people that had experienced this trauma when I was a child growing up, and how it was covered up or how it was brushed under the carpet and not spoken about. I vividly remember people who were pregnant but didn't have a child, but you never actually there was no conversation. I have told us of a story on this show numerous times, of someone that was really close to us that had this experience and didn't really, I guess, on reflection, didn't really get the support. From my understanding now, looking back, being a child and understanding, hold on, that person was pregnant, but we never actually saw the child. Oh my goodness, that's what happened. That experienced loss, but it was never discussed. It was really never dealt with, to the point that it had a huge impact on their mental health, that they had to be sectioned, coupled with postpartum depression. So this trauma and keeping it bottled up inside really has a huge impact. There's a ripple effect, a domino effect, as I'd like to say, that happens when we do not tell our stories. This is why it's important for us to share our stories, to tell at least one person, because that way you can be rest assured, if you choose the right person, that is, that you will get the right support along the way. Any over to you. Do we have any questions, any comments?
Yeah. Give me a second. Michael, you made it. Welcome, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us. Michael says I'm about to get
Hi, Michael.
before I have to
Welcome.
jump onto the next thing. Look,
Thank you,
I'm sure we'll
Michael.
be gone within 30 minutes because I've got to get my son
Yes, we will be.
from his activity. Yeah, and I got me
Absolutely.
another meeting at 9 as well. So everything is in a hurry today. But thank you for joining us, Michael. Look, my question to you, Christian, and then I mean, of course, you talk about miscarriage of baby loss, on events
Mhm.
like this, which I think it's a good option. Saying, you know, I'm sure there's no point thinking there's no one for me to talk to because there's a whole world to talk to. That's one way of
Yes.
doing it. You mentioned just talking to someone, just have the conversation. I guess the
Yes.
question to you is, where can we turn to talk? Has it got to be therapy all the time, or
It,
what
it
are the
doesn't.
options that we have really?
So it depends on the individual and what they believe in that
Mm,
moment, and also who they are. Are they usually a private person? Are they comfortable? For some people who are very comfortable and open, for some, they may struggle because everybody knows them. They, for example, someone who's a life and part of the soul of the
mm,
party, they may be seen as someone who is an extrovert, but when it comes to this trauma, they then become an
mm,
introvert. So I always say it's really important that you find that one person that you can trust, because a trusted party, to share this, to have a conversation with, to talk to them. And in the past, in on our shows, if you remember any, I've always said that if you are struggling to find a place, a space, you can be that person that creates that
mm,
space, that place. Because in my case, that's exactly what I did. I couldn't find a place or a space to do so.
mm,
So I created one. You know, part of the reason why this is happening now, this show exists. Really, you can find groups. So there are online groups, there are face-to-face groups. It depends on where you live, what your local area is like. You can talk to your healthcare if you're here in the UK,
mm,
NHS. We can ask our NHS, um, carers. So you're caring to your professional team, your clinical team, your medical team, of what support is available to you. Now, these days, we have a look online. Depending on where you are, you can join an online, um, forum, an online group, or you can come and talk to me. You can come and talk to me, and we can go through. Because for me, what really is important is being able to go from pain to clarity and building your confidence. Okay. When I talk about clarity for me is about clarity is really about understanding what has happening. That's part of the process of grieving, the grieving process. But for some, there may be underlying medical issues, medical conditions that they may not have understanding. So my advice is your first point of contact is really speaking to your team and asking either for your medical records or write questions down that you're not um, clear on, and gaining clarity first, because that clarity will then support you in gaining the confidence to look at what options you have moving forward, no matter what they are. You must look at all options. So to answer your question, Annie, it depends on where you are in the world. It depends on what is available to you. And it depends on if you're able to trust and open up. The first thing is being able to open up and to speak up. Because until you take that journey, that courage, ultimately it's about choice, courage, and control. Right? The first being choice. Ask yourself, what is my choice? Can I tell somebody? And people ask the question, well, why should I tell somebody? I ask myself the question, why would anybody want to listen to what I've got to say or what I've lost? Who cares? The truth is, you have a choice to tell your story because it helps you first and foremost. It helps you to truly express and process. That's the first thing. The second thing is telling your story helps others to better understand what you may be going through, especially in a work environment, right? In your personal circumstances, you may have supportive family, and don't get me wrong, not because because you have family doesn't mean they're always supportive. I've come across those who have plenty around them, but they still felt so alone. And that's the reason why I said in the first instance, who you choose to disclose your experience with is really important, because that's a person that can either make or break how you move forward or how you heal, as some would say. Okay. So you can show up for yourself first before you show up for others. As far as really gaining that courage, that confidence to speak up, to share, once you have told that one person and it being the right person, it's about helping them to help you, you know? Stay within that courage you've taken, stay within the first step you've taken to share, and don't be afraid and do not get defensive or ashamed of answering questions. And if you don't understand the question they're asking you, be honest about it and just say, I don't know. But then look at that as an opportunity for you to write a question down for your medical team. You know, for some, they take to online. I know I did. I took online to look at everything. They call it Dr. Google.
Dr. Google is always
Right?
there.
But it's always there. But guess what? Even he couldn't help me. I
I hear you.
had to do the work myself. I had to really understand. what
Mm.
I'm feeling and processing, and why do I feel this way? Why does it matter? Ask yourself these questions. Why do I feel this way? Why does it matter? Right? Why do I want to tell my story? Why do I want to speak up, speak out? What does it do for me in the end? Does it alleviate my stress, my fear, my shame, the shock I'm feeling? Will it help me to better understand myself and me and my body and the
Mm.
journey I'm about to embark on moving forward? Once you can begin to answer those questions, you are doing amazing.
Yeah, I hear
For
you.
those that are watching this live or on replay and have experienced this trauma and are experiencing this trauma, you are doing amazing.
Mm.
Know that you are doing amazing. There's no right and wrong way to experience this. There's one way to really help you, and that is being patient with yourself.
Mm.
Be patient with yourself, please, and seek that help that you need. Alavine, you are welcome. So good to see you. Welcome on stage.
Yes, Alvin, are you there? You're muted.
She's muted.
Yes. I hope you can unmute.
So I have a question.
Rich is
Sorry,
not playing with you.
Emmy.
Go for it.
I have a question for
What's
the
your question?
audience. My first question for the audience is: do you think two people can experience the same baby loss and grieve completely differently?
Um.
If your answer, depending on your answer, I'd also like to know why the answer you've given.
Okay. Um. There's is it Alavine? I can see Alavine's connection is playing up, and Michael says
Oh,
very good content, very relatable. Alavine, you're here. We hear you.
yay!
Yeah. Which I can relate to anybody, which is a strong message, which is strong messaging. And
Thank you,
I'm glad.
Michael.
Thank you for your kind words, Michael. Levine, we almost heard you. Look, I believe, of course, I
Yes,
think
sir.
people take things differently, right? Depending on many things, where they are, age and experience, and circumstance. I think
Mm,
that's a catch-all, right? So
hmm.
I think two people can experience miscarriage and baby loss and have very different experience. Of course they can.
Yes,
In the individual differences. But here's a question to you.
yes.
You see, given that there's individual differences, as we just said,
Hmm.
how are workplaces, businesses supposed to cater for people who may need the chance to talk, need someone to talk to, need the business to facilitate those
Yes.
conversations. Who they're going to talk to. What do we do? Create policies? Do we create programs? What is the answer on the business side?
That's a great question, Ellie, and thank you for that question. The first thing is let's look at the business itself. So, the size of the business, the company, whether you're dealing with a corporate business or a small family business, what resources do you have, first of all? And how can you allocate that to support those experiencing this trauma? The first thing I say to each, whether you're large or a small company, is let's think of our workforce experiencing this trauma as humans first and foremost. The second thing is really ask the question by way of consultation. And when I say consultation, I mean an anonymous questionnaire, so that people are not having to write their names in a questionnaire. So they don't feel targeted. They don't feel as if I say this on my questionnaire, would I be targeted? Would I be picked out? Would I lose my job? These comments I'm giving you are real, and they've happened in real life situations in work environments. And that's the reason why I really want you to understand as an employer your duty of care, but also your responsibility in ensuring that those experiencing this trauma are able to find a way to really talk about this without fear. And the fears are many, but I'm just going to say without fear for now. So for a small company, it's really important that you take the time to get to understand, to digest. And I say, when you are, for example, scheduling in meetings to go through the process of putting together a fit for purpose policy, take the time and don't rush it. It's important that if you have a facility, perhaps an office space, where you can allocate, times, because it depends on your the number of employees you have. Team meetings are not always the best place to have these conversations. And I have known companies undertake conversations of this nature in a team meeting when directing this to an individual within a team meeting, and that's not appropriate. Don't get me wrong, you can address this within team meeting as a way of new information, as a way of an education, whether you bring an external source in to come and, support them in delivering workshops and sessions that would better educate them, allow for an open and, judgment-free space to communicate, to ask questions, to really understand their colleagues and ways to better support their colleagues. That's one way to do that. For larger corporations that have the space, perhaps, one thing I would really suggest and advise is you could suggest a group session. You could also have a look at, choosing the right person when it comes to your employee assistant programs, or persons, as I like to say, personnel, to see if they have some ideas, some background in this trauma. And if not, how do we make that happen? Because as we know, 1 in 4 will experience this trauma. As a large corporation, a large company, you are going to have women and couples experiencing this trauma. So why not take an opportunity to be able to be prepared and to create an environment where people feel comfortable to have this discussion. Take the time to send out the consultation, give them the consultation period for them to really disclose and speak honestly and openly, anonymously, so that way you can get to hear. And I mean, you can, when I say you can, you as the CEO, you as the HR manager, partner, can get to really know, hear, and understand how people feel, what their thoughts are, before you put together or review your existing policies, to ensure that once your policy is now or becomes available and has been published, that it is indeed fit for purpose, that it isn't something that it's just there for the sake of it, collecting dust in the clouds, or collecting dust on your systems. It needs to be fit for purpose. And I believe once organizations and companies start to be, or to set an example, to be ambassadors in eradicating the stigma where baby loss, pregnancy loss is concerned, you'll get a better workforce. You'll get to understand and reap the benefits of a sound mind, of a workforce or colleague that will come into work without fear of judgment and everywhere fear happening. So that's something that organizations and companies can do, and how they can do it. Whether you're a big company or a small company, consider your workforce, consider those experiencing this trauma as humans first, as opposed to a number first. Because once you do that, when you put your people first, you'll get the best out of them, as opposed to not doing so. I'm wondering if anyone has a question right now. So thank you, Annie, for that question. I'm hoping I've answered your question. And if I haven't, please do.
I'll thank you. As we were talking, I'm thinking, your service should be part of employee assistance programs. I'm just
Yes,
saying, hashtag, just saying.
it should be.
Alovin says yes. I think I think so because people are different, right? They have their own backgrounds
Yes,
and I guess their own different needs.
it's true, Alavine. Thank you.
Look, our
Thank
time
you
has come to
for
go.
it. Has. We've got less than 9 minutes left.
So we can't go now because I have to go and get my son to my meeting.
Yes.
After that.
So I want to thank you guys for being here and for supporting us always. From Alavine to Christy to Bill to Michael Burns. And I'm just trying to think of who else is here. I can't see all those on screen at the moment. But as usual,
Bill was here, like you said.
Yes, he
Christy, was. So there are many people here that we have to thank for giving us your time.
Yes, and we appreciate you. And if you watch this on replay, please know that we really truly value your contributions and you being present and showing us love every time we do this. We really appreciate you. And you are always, as always, our superstar. Thank you for all that you do, Godfather of LinkedIn Lives. I'm hoping I can bring audio back
You
too.
love that your audio. Stop crying about audio, my friends. Audio is gone. No, you don't really. The people, Michael's seen you today. I'm sure he hasn't seen you before, right? And he's heard you. I'm saying audio was only half the effect. Hearing us brought us out of the dark ages of just words and messages and text, right? I think that this has freed us up to be multi-channel. That's when people see us on here, they know us, they like us instantly. It's much easier. It's an easier ask than audio was by itself. Look, you mentioned earlier, of course, I love people to join our stage and to contribute to the conversation. I really do. So I want conversations. That's what I do this live events for. But we're going to the next level, Christian. And I am, I'm more than happy for us to do what we do the way we do now, right? Where we're going next, I hear you ask, Christiana. That's a question you need to ask. So where we're going next? TV, you got it right.
Yes.
Right. So we're not going to have the audience necessarily interacting with us in that way. And I do intend to take this format and give you a more, literally remote conversations. Call it that, right?
Absolutely, yes.
We're not sort of pushed into having to hire a studio and so on and so forth. I want the world to experience us as they experience us today on live shows. It actually be on TV, television, as it is.
We've had this conversation, and as you know, Annie, I would also like to have this same conversation. Imagine Loose Women, but it's all about pregnancy, baby loss, and a panel at all times with one special guest, whether they are, part of a clinical background or they are those who have lived experience, to bring these together and to have these conversations. We did that on audio. It was just audio. It would be nice to get it done on TV. So I'm putting it out there. If you're watching this live on replay and you want to be part of the panel, please do reach out to us. If you want to be part of the guests and contribute and so on and so forth, come and let us know as we move forward with the new adventure.
You have to invest in this space on TV first of all, right? And
we do.
So the Lachelle Zondra TV is where I intend to start. Who knows where we're going to be a year from now. Once we start TV, I've got a vision for it of it growing, and then into
Absolutely.
different places, different channels, different platforms, different TV stations, so to different platforms, so to speak. Right? I'm excited. You know,
I'm
it means
excited, and I'm also like at the same
it means I have to
time.
get better at doing the interview style conversation.
Yes.
You know,
Yes, yes,
as
yes.
opposed to the interactive, chaotic, you know, live conversations that we can have.
Conversations.
But look,
Hmm.
we're here. That's it. And look, if anyone needs to talk to someone, Christiana is always there. Is always there. Of course, you.
I am indeed. You find me on
Yep,
LinkedIn.
Christiana T
You
Johnson. Thank
know,
goodness there's only one of her. That's
and we definitely have an rebranding to Baby Loss 360. Formally, moving forward post miscarriage, we're now Baby Loss 360. I have my domain name. Behind the scenes, I'm starting to work on my website. And so I'm excited about
yeah,
this. I'm
yeah,
quietly excited. I'll be shouting about it at some point. You know me, Annie. I kind of do things behind the scenes and then go, by the way, this is happening now.
yeah. No,
Whereas others will kind of announce it as they work. I tend to work behind the scenes and just announce it all at
indeed. Look,
once. So
no,
thank you once again for
thank
joining us.
you. No, Michael. Thank you for your, your always kind words, my friend. So I say, be confident. If you weren't good, I would just say you're not good. I'm kind of little direct in my messaging. And look, I love your honesty. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me.
Thank
It
you,
really does, right?
Michael.
And I say thank you, Christiana, for being a star like you are, right? And say
Thank you. We couldn't do it
say
without
Michael,
you.
maybe the thing is, being British, and, and
Yes. Both
right,
of us.
we're
Imagine that.
kind of more reserved than Americans. We are less, excitable
Bragging.
than Americans tend to be, right? So, I think it's trying to work out my approach. Do I want to be
Yes.
loud, brash, any, or do I want to be, yes, calm and still, but whilst making a point that helps people. But that's why I say thank you, Priscilla, because it's you, people like you, who make my shows useful to everyone, right? Yeah.
Oh, thank
But
you, Annie.
you
We couldn't do without you.
you
So
enjoy. Look,
you're a
no,
superstar.
thank you for your kind words. Now, look, now this is part one of this conversation about being up and
It
tell your
is
story. So join us for part two in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk
part
about
two
me.
in
I'm
two
sure.
weeks' time.
Yes. Meanwhile,
Yes, men.
I got book launches. Isn't it? It's mental health day today, isn't it? Again, week, month.
Yes, there should have been about men today, but I just thought let me just do women
Yeah,
instead.
no,
So
it's a good thing. Look, thank you so much. So, we're going to end the show. I guess, like I have to say these days, Christiana, you've been watching Annie and Christiana, and we
Christina,
make you
yeah.
famous. Yay!
We do make you famous, whether it's publishing your book or editing your book, as I do,
Yep,
we make you famous.
exactly. Michael, we're with you, my friend. You made it to the end. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone. Do
Michael. Nice to
enjoy
meet
the
you. Take
evening.
care.
Bye,
Bye.
bye. I don't know why I just did, Christian. I did something. Who knows what I did?
What did you do?
Um,
I'm leaving. I've got to
yeah,
go
no,
and
we're
take.
going. We're
I've got a
going.
birthday celebration to
We're
go to.
going. Bye.
Bye.
12 years she's walked beside the broken hearted. A coach who knows the weight of dreams departed. Through her own valley of shadow and pain, she found her calling in healing from loss. With gentle strength, she holds what others fear.